What is up? Good to see everybody. We got all kinds of folks in here. Man, I can tell I'm getting old because I can barely read the chat anymore. I guess I'm going to have to go up in my magnification. Oh no. There we go. I can read it now. All right, guys. So what is going on, guys? Good Friday to you. Hope everybody had a great week. Wild Bill, what's going on? JCB67. Michael Wrightsa. Aaron Phillips, how you doing? Greg Beaven. Nate. Nasty Nate. Paul Ballard, what's going on, brother? All right. Pride Modus, what is happening? Good to see you this week. Victor Shamulus, how you doing? Jerry Wilfong, good to see you. Mr. P-A-T-T, Plains Archery and Table Tennis. Slim V, how you doing? Welcome to the show. If you haven't been here before, it's good to see you. C Mafia, how you doing? Jeff in Lower Alabama. Man, it's been a week, folks. It's been a week. Had a good week at work. Was able to accomplish some fairly significant tasks this week. And I finally finished up my Flightline Spitfire. So for those of you that watch the show, man, it's been, what, about a month ago now, maybe 5 weeks. It's been a while. I was coming in on an approach. I was coming into land at my airfield, and this tree, like right before you get to the runway, it reached up and it grabbed my Spitfire and pulled it back down. And it loved on it for about a week. And then I finally was able to, maybe about a week and a half, I think it was probably about 10 days that this thing was stuck up in a tree. So I finally went to the field and I was like, today's the day, we're just gonna go shake this thing down. So we went to that tree, me and a few buddies at the field, and we shook that tree until it spit out my Spitfire. So when I got it back down, for the most part, it was in pretty good shape. So the fuselage, you know, it took a couple of dents and scrapes here and there, but overall still in good condition. Had a couple of scratches on the leading edge of the horizontal stab. The vertical stab is good to go. The biggest amount of damage came to the wings, so I did get some replacement wings, and now the Spitfire's ready for action again. So I'm pretty happy that we got this thing going. I did all my testing last night, you know, made sure all the servos. So basically I just took all the servos out of the old wings. I mean, all the servos and everything were still working fine. And the leading edge of the left wing took some pretty nasty damage. The right wing's actually in pretty good shape, but I went ahead and swapped them both out for new wings. And now this baby's ready to go again. And I think the reason that it took me so long to put the new wings on it had nothing to do with my desire to want this airplane to fly again. Because I wanted it to fly again. I love this plane. It's one of my favorites. But I didn't want to put the water slides on. Man, that's how lazy I am. I got the wings and the water slides and the stick-on decals and everything I needed to get this thing ready to go. And I was like, you know, I'd get all prepped and ready to do it, and then I'd see them water slides and be like, not today. Ain't doing it. How many of you guys are like, just despise the idea of water slide decals? You know, now that they've got like the thin vinyls, I mean, the water slides are nice because after you get them on, you can reposition them, you can get them exactly where you need them. whatever. But man, I just despise applying water slide decals. So that was my holdup. So, the roundels on the wings, on the top and the bottom, and there's like these black lines, that define where the walking zones are on the wings, those are just regular stickers, peel and stick, pop them on there, good to go. But all of the little nomenclatures, like where to put the jacks and walk way inboard and walk way forward and wheels up when indicator flush and blah, blah, blah. This octane of fuel. All of those little nomenclature decals, those are all water slides. And there's like 10 of them on each wing. And I was like, man, I ain't doing it. So I'd look at the box and be like, nah. For 5 weeks, I procrastinated. Max Air 420, what's going on? Spencer Keith, how are you doing tonight? Yes, this is not the Kraut Knocker. So that was kind of my motivation to get the Spitfire ready to rock. Because tomorrow morning, I was going to go out to the field with my Spitfire and my brand new FMS 1500 millimeter P47. And that's what I was going to have tonight on the bench instead of the Spitfire. But I was like, what? Check 6. Man, I did a lot of repositioning of these things to make sure that they were pointing in the right direction before I laid them down. I'll tell you what, I did my due diligence. So, yeah, I was going to have my brand new FMS 1500 P47 Thunderbolt Razorback in the body paint scheme. We were going to have that here tonight, and we were going to be building it for us, for the channel, for the people. We were going to be building an FMS P47. I don't see an FMS P47 here. I don't see an FMS P47 anywhere in my house, because it got to FedEx this morning, to the local FedEx facility, at like 7:48. I can see when they check that box, 7:48 in the morning. But by 7:48 in the morning, they had already loaded up the dispatch delivery trucks, and they couldn't find like the 5 minutes that it would take to throw my plane in that truck. Those bitches. So now I have to wait till tomorrow to get my P47. So it is what it is. Next week, I'm not waiting until next week to build the P47. So we might do a live stream tomorrow when it gets here, as long as it doesn't like step on top of like Ryan's show at night. We might do a live show tomorrow afternoon to show the P47, and we're gonna make we're gonna get something going. And then after we do a quick live build, as long as it's before like 4 o'clock, I want to get out to the field and have Warbird Day, because nothing goes with a Spitfire quite like a P47. Some people think that the Mustang is a better fit, but not me. I would say that the better counterpart to the P4 to the Spitfire is probably a P40 or a P47, because Mustangs didn't get to the war till pretty late in the game. Hey, Airvex, thanks, man. So I was going to get a tiger cat. But here's the thing, right? This was a birthday present. So for y'all that didn't know, it was my birthday like this past Tuesday, I think. Maybe it was Wednesday. I don't remember. Whatever day it was, Amy comes downstairs and insists that I buy an airplane. Yeah. Paul Dayton. Those are my favorite kind of shows right there. So Amy and I had gone to Hobbytown earlier on my birthday, and I was looking at maybe a couple of cars. You know, they didn't really have any airplanes that I wanted because, you know, I mean, you guys know this. I buy most of the airplanes I get. I get a few, you know, delivered here every now and then, but for the most part, most of the planes that I have are paid for. I bought them in one way or another. So when it was time to do that, I had already, because of like, there was a lot of stuff going on, right? Yeah, Airvex, thanks, man. My birthday was Tuesday. So on Tuesday, my wife and I, Amy, a lot of you guys have seen her on the show a few times in the past. She insists that we go to Hobbytown. And I'm like, all right, let's go to Hobbytown. So didn't really see anything I wanted, so we left. But while we were at Hobbytown, my 20-year-old silly daughter who's in college, she wants like this Harry Potter castle Lego set. And I was like, yeah, Legos. I don't care if it's Harry Potter. Thanks, guys. So we get the Lego set at Hobbytown, but we don't get anything for me. And my wife is like, what are you doing? Why didn't you get anything? And I was like, well, I saw this, but you know, it was pretty expensive. And I was like, it wasn't really, I don't have that much expendable income to just throw out on stuff every month. But earlier this month, like the previous Friday or the previous week, you know, Horizon's running this crazy deal. And one of the deals that they had, their pre-Black Friday sale, they had the Creighton EXB for $328, brand new. And I was like, man, I can't not get that, you know, because I mean, I don't really pay full price. I get a little bit of a discount. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of something, something. So I got the discount. So I got the Creighton EXB the week before with all of the trimmings. You know, I needed to get a motor and the ESC and a receiver and everything else that I needed to throw into it to get it up and running. So that was already a pretty good chunk of change that I'd spent, you know. And then the next week, like the Tiger Cat was still selling at regular price. You know what I'm saying? But I was going to be able to, like, that's why I got the Creighton instead of the Tiger Cat, because I could get the Creighton for like $150 off, closer to 200, you know, after discounts and all that stuff. Like if you go and look at the price of a Creighton right now, the EXB, I paid $200 less than that. And I was like, I can't pass that up because I love the Creighton. I love the EXB. It's amazing. So I already got that, right? And when my wife is insisting that I get a plane, I'm like, oh man, I got to get something where like I can get a really cool plane for a really good price. And when I found the Spitfire, or when I, you know, like looking at the Tiger Cat that's almost $600, and looking at this P-47, which I also love P-47s, and it's the right size. I love the 1500 size. I think it's great. You know, this is a 1600, so the P-47 will be a little bit smaller than the Spitfire, but not by much. But anyway, I wanted I wanted that P-47. So after it was all said and done, because I was also able to use like a big old stack of reward points, you know, because when I bought the Creighton, they were also doing 4x reward points, and I'm an elite member at Horizon, so I get like 1.75 bonus points for every one that I would have received, or something. I mean, it's crazy. Like, you get so many bonus points. So I had like $100 more in reward points that I could throw at this thing. So yeah, when it was all said and done, I ended up getting that Hellcat, or it's Hellcat, the P47 for like $212 or something crazy like that. So I'm still going to get the Tiger Cat. I may not get it when I wanted it. It may have to wait till like the beginning of December, but I'm still going to get the Tiger Cat. So everybody relax. And that's definitely happening. But I wanted to get the P47 now because Amy was insistent that I get an airplane. And I was like, you know what? This one is a good one to add to the collection. Because I could have got like one of the new E-Flight planes. I was looking at like the RV7, but to be honest, as great as I think that RV7 is, it's just not a plane that I see me being eager to take it to the field every time I go. Where, like with the Spitfire, like every time I go out, this comes with me, you know, because it's just awesome. Even on like jet days, the Spitfire's coming. Because the Spitfire is awesome. The big Cessna HSD 182, awesome. I take that every time I go to the field. I mean, and those are two big ass planes, you know. But I wanted something else that like it demands to go to the field every time I go. You know what I mean? And I think that that P47 is going to be one of those kinds of planes that every time I go to the field, that P47 is going to want to jump in the car with me. And if I can have like a really nice P47 and a really nice Spitfire, that's awesome. Now, I do have some exciting stuff to share with you with regard to the P47, and I'm not going to give away everything, but you guys that are familiar with the Bonnie P47 from FMS, the 1500 millimeter paint scheme, it just doesn't look right on a Razorback. You know, most of the silver P47s that I've seen have been bubble tops, and they were Pacific Theater planes. They did have a few Razorbacks, but most of the Razorbacks served in the European theaters. So to me, the Razorback looks best in like the green camo scheme. And like I said, I kind of wanted to complement the Spitfire. Now, the Spitfire from Flightline, I think this is a beautiful plane right out of the box. You don't need to change nothing. The paint scheme looks great. You know, it looks like something that would have served in the war. And I know that the Bonnie airplane did, but I just don't care for it. I don't think it looks right on a Razorback. So the Razorback is going to go green camo, but we're doing a custom livery on it that in doing some research, that custom livery or the name of the aircraft was actually used on a P-51 during World War II, but I have not seen any pictures of the airplane, only that it existed. So when we get the P-47, we are going to be doing a custom scheme, and I hope that it looks awesome. You know, I keep my fingers crossed. I hope that it comes out just looking bad to the bone, and that you guys enjoy what we're going to do with it, because it's very amusing, it's very cool and nostalgic. We're going to put, you know, we're going to put a pinup girl on there. It's going to be a neat plane. Ah, Slim V, man. Thank you, sir. Maybe that's Slim 5, and I'm just saying it, you know, wrong because I'm stupid. And I just read English, not Roman. Primotus. Where did you find that at? Is that on like Netflix or Hulu or something? So y'all pay attention to the chat. Primotus says he just watched a movie called Fighter Squadron. It's an old movie about P-47s in World War II. That's definitely something I got to check out. And for those of you that like those kinds of movies, there was a really good movie. I don't know if it's still available on Netflix or not. It was there, and then it wasn't. But if you have like a Roku device, Roku, whatever, I think you can do a search on the main Roku like splash page when you first open up your Roku device and go home. You can do a search for Spitfire. There was like I think it's a 2-hour documentary all about the Spitfire. If you love the Spitfire as much as I do, and even if you don't love the Spitfire as much as I do, you know, as far as Britain goes, like this was the fighter. You know, they had some other ones. They had, oh, who was that other big manufacturer over there? Was it? It wasn't Gloucester. Who the heck? Hawkers. Yes, the Hawker. Yeah, so like the Hawker Hurricane, you know, would have been the other like big Warbird of World War II. No, it was Hawker. That's who I was looking for. Thomas Allen, good to see you. So, you know, that was really all they had outside of the Spitfire. But the Spitfire, they just kept making it better and better and better and better. I mean, that's why there's so many different versions of the Spitfire, right? So they got like the Spitfire, you know, 2. I think this is like a Spitfire 9, or I mean, and I want to say it went up into like the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, there were a lot of Spitfire variations because they just kept making the platform better and better and better. But the Spitfire, I mean, what an amazing airplane. All of these planes were pretty awesome. You know, if you look at like what the Spitfire, the Mustang, the P-47, the Corsair, especially in the Pacific Theater, the Hellcat in the Pacific Theater. I mean, these airplanes were just tearing stuff apart in the skies, but we were owning it. Even after the Me-262, you know, where they had like the Germans release their jet airplanes, I mean, we were still taking them out, you know, with Mustangs, P-47s, whatever. I mean, we were knocking jets out of the sky, you know, at the very beginning of the jet age with the Me-262, we were using prop planes to hammer them out. So, you know, I think that says a lot for our fighter pilots back in World War II and the airplanes that we were flying back then. Yes, so the reason I went ahead and did the wings is because I wanted the Spitfire to be ready to go so I can take the Spitfire and the P-47 out at the same time. So I got her all ready to go. It's ready to fly. I mean, I don't even know if you call that a remaiden. If the fuse has flown many, many times, but she just got new wings, is it really a remaiden? What's up, Roach Coach? How you doing, man? Yep, so like I was saying, love the Spitfire. everything about it is beautiful to me. I think this is one of the, like, this to me is, I love Spitfires. Everything about them is just super sleek and cool. I love the shape of the elliptical wings. You know, the way they've got the fillets in the back where they kind of feather up and into the rest of the fuse instead of this hard stop. You know, all the fillets in the wings. The way that the split flaps, I think, look great. It's just a beautiful airframe. You know, the way that the everything about it, just the way that they integrate the ailerons into that big elliptical wing. The way that it flies is fantastic. You know, it tracks so well. These are such awesome airplanes. You know, the shape of the canopy, it's got that little bubble right there. It just looks neat. I'm a huge fan. I love the Spitfire. But I also love the P-47 for a lot of the same reasons. You know, but the P-47 is much more representative of, you know, more Spartan American design, where, you know, those of you that understand what the origin of the Spitfire was probably know why it's got such sleek lines, but, you know, does anybody want to share what the original Spitfire was? Because I think a lot of people know, but it may surprise some of you. You know, to know, like, oh, the Spitfire's origins, before Supermarine turned this into a fighter, this was like, where was the Spitfire born from? Jeff in Lower Alabama knows his old school World War II trivia. Thanks, Jeff. Yes, this was an air racing platform. It didn't look exactly like this, but a lot of the concepts that went on to become the Spitfire were used by Supermarine in air racing, you know, prior to World War II. So Supermarine took a lot of what they learned from making very successful race planes and incorporated a lot of those design elements into the Spitfire to make what we have here today. So, you know, the Spitfire right out of the gate was made to just be this sleek, beautiful, you know, awesome looking airplane that was adapted for war, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it was on floats. That is true, Nate. Excuse me. So, yeah, I love the history and the background of the Spitfire, and I want to learn more about the P-47. So, I'm glad you brought that up. What was that again? It was American something. What was the name of that show about the P-47s? Was it American Badass? Oh, Fighter Squadron. There you go. I'll just have to come back and watch the stream again later. I got nothing to write that down with. Fighter Squadron. I got to find it. Oh, I do have something to write with. Boy, that's the worst. When you have something to write with, but you don't have anything to write on. And it's a pencil, so I can't like draw it in my hand like high school style. You know, anybody remember those days when you used to use the inside of your palm as a Post-it note? Any of you guys still do that stupid crap? I used to be the worst. I used to like, you know, I always had a ballpoint pen in my hand somewhere, man. I'd be writing crap in in the palm of my hand. Heck yeah, man, we used to use those as, like, I'd write all my formulas down on the palm of my hand prior to a math test. Man, I use that thing for all of the things. I mean, that used to be my phone book. Tactical notes. Oh, Dennis, thank you, sir. So Dennis Farley, who's my hero, just sent me a text message so I don't have to write it down. Man, Mike Nolan, are you crazy? This thing gets nothing to face as the Spitfire. This plane's beautiful. Yep, so like I said, tomorrow I'll probably go live when the P-47 gets here. Do a quick build video. I don't think, yeah, that was the original Palm Pilot right there. I don't think that that FMS P-47 is going to take very long to get together. It does have the Reflex in it. So for those of you guys that missed my show a couple weeks back, Horizon is now stocking FMS planes that have the FMS Reflex Gyro in them. So for those of you guys that don't know what the Reflex Gyro is, it is very similar to, you know, safe technology, and that it's got, you know, you can turn the gyro off, you can turn it on, or you can have it set to like a self-leveling mode, very similar to safe. So you don't have to worry about like programming a gyro. So if you don't want to use like an AR-636, you can use any kind of gyro you want, or you can use any kind of receiver you want, straight up 6-channel receiver. Actually, you would want to have 7, so you have that 7th channel to be able to toggle your modes back and forth, to turn your modes on and off. But yeah, that's it. So your throttle, your aileron, your elevator, your rudder. So your throttle goes through the Reflex too. I don't know why, but it does. So yeah, the only thing that you hook directly to the servos is your flaps and your gear doors, you know, so your retracts and your flaps. Everything else goes through the Reflex, and it has all the stabilization and everything already kind of built in. So it's not bind and fly, but it's kind of the next best thing. Yep, so figuring out how to set up like, and basically the vector, if you guys are familiar with like the Aeros models, the vector gyro that they're including in a lot of the Aeros RC stuff now is the same thing as a Reflex. So Primotus, the Reflex has, so AS3X is Spectrum's gyro function, which is more wind rejection, environment rejection. So, you know, if the wind pushes you to the left, you know, it will automatically correct back into, you know, back to the right to do like turbulence rejection and stuff like that. That's what AS3X and most gyros are doing. Paul Dayton, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. We will call that a birthday present. and safe is a whole nother animal, because safe is doing self-leveling. You know, so AS3X is what they call their stabilization mode, and safe is what they call their self-leveling, you know, kind of, not necessarily autopilot, but because it doesn't really automate anything other than your horizon. It will try to keep the plane in level flight, but it can't make corrections to throttle or anything like that. Brian Costales, I'm going to murder that last name over and over and over again. So what's up, Brian? Welcome to the show, man. So anyway, yeah, the Reflex you just route your throttle, your aileron, your elevator, and your rudder channels to the throttle, aileron, elevator, and rudder inputs on the Reflex, and it's already connected inside the airplane. So that's all you got to do. And then you got to use a 7th channel for your mode selector. And I mean, I know that they're set to 100, 0, and -100 is your 3 modes on that selector switch. I just don't know which one is which. You'd have to play around with it. I was getting ready to say, damn, I can't hear Dave, but I forgot I had the TV muted. Well, turn the speakers back on, dude. So yeah, Boss 223, if you are familiar with like the stability and safe select modes on Spectrum receivers, you can effectively do the same thing with the Reflex if you set your mode selector correctly. So, and it's already programmed for you. You don't have to do nothing. It's easy peasy to set up. All you got to do is bind your radio, you know, and once it's hooked up right and you get your mode selector right, you just set up everything else the same way you would if you were running a Spectrum bind and fly plane. So Ken Bird, for just the stability functionality, the A3 Pro works really well. I have a Hobby Eagle A3 Super 3 that's awesome. You know, that was before I really started messing with the sorry, Amy's not home, right? She went up to Tennessee for the weekend. So I am here with the dogs and no one's upstairs to calm them down. So they're freaking out for nothing. The V2 T34. T34. I mean, how many channels does a T34 need normally? Yeah, so anyway, the Hobby Eagle or the Hobby Wing stuff, Hobby Wing, Hobby Eagle. The gyros are Hobby Eagle. They work great. I haven't had any problems with them. You know, whether it was the A3L, the A3 Pro, A3 Super, they all work fantastic. Just keep in mind, if you get like the A3 Super, you got to have the little programming card or you got to hook it up to a PC. I know that a lot of people, they don't like messing with PCs. They just like the simplicity of turning a pot, or now that we can do it in forward programming, you know, they prefer that method. So if you don't want to mess with all that, then get one of the other A3s, like the A3L or the A3 Pro. So if it has air brakes, is that all it's got outside of air brakes? So if it's 6 channels plus air brakes, that's 7. I mean, you just need enough channels. So here's the deal with AS3X and Safe. If you're going to get one of the Spectrum receivers, as far as the PWM outputs, which are the ones that drive your servos, right? So the PWM outputs, you need as many as you have servos, you know, in your airplane, or connections, whether those are going to servos, retracts, actuators, whatever the case may be. You need enough outputs to control everything that's in your airplane. With the Spectrum stuff, they can respond all the way out to channel 20, right? So once you bind up to it, just because you only have 8 outputs doesn't mean that you need that you need a channel for everything that you're going to do, right? Because even on like an AR637T, I use 11 channels. When I had my IX12, I had 11 channels bound to that thing. The 6 channels were going to the 6 functions on the airplane. And then I also had a button to go into panic mode. I had a channel to give me my mode selections. I had individual channels for rudder gain, for aileron gain and for elevator gain. So each one of my roll, pitch, and yaw gain functions had a separate channel to adjust the gains. I had 5 extra channels, so I was using 11 channels, but your transmitter has to support it. So if you have like a DX18, for example, or an IX12, IX20, NX10, if you've got an 8-channel receiver that has 8 outputs, you can plug all 8 outputs up to servos and still, so what does that take you up to? Like aux 3? You can still program aux 4 as your mode selector switch, and aux 5 as your gain control, like a universal gain control. And if you had an IX12, or you could set up aux 6, aux 7, to do individual gain channels. If up to an IX20, you can just keep programming stuff. So pretty cool. Prime Modus, good to see you, man. Have a good weekend. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about tonight is, because we have we're getting into like the windy time of the year, right? We're getting into the cold and wind. That's another reason that why I've got the Spitfires and why I'm getting a bigger P47. So I had a P47. It was like a 1300 or 1280. And it got thrown around in the wind a lot. We all know that bigger flies better, right? And one of the reasons that bigger flies better is because obviously, like a full-scale airplane, for the most part, they fly great. But as we shrink an airplane down, the one thing that we're not taking into consideration is that the air molecules that have an effect on our little bitty airplane, they're still the same size. So if you're flying a 1/10 scale airplane, you only shrunk the airplane down to 1/10 scale, which means that the air molecule that's affecting that airplane is now 10 times larger than it used to be. So assume, that the environmental effects are going to be 10 times greater on a tiny airplane than they are on a bigger airplane. So as we get into the windy seasons, I would recommend that everybody start looking into, now's the time to explore why bigger flies better. Bigger, heavier planes carry their weight better. They fly better. They're not quite as affected by wind. Of course, wind will knock them around, but it's nowhere near as severe as it is on smaller airframes. So if you've got a 1300 millimeter plane like a Bigfoot, or a 2100 millimeter airplane, like the Carbon Z Cessna 150, which one do you think is going to fly better in 20-mile-an-hour winds? Obviously. Oh, Kenny, you funny guy. What's happening, man? So on one hand, we have this small airplane, it's going to get knocked all over the place by the wind. On the other hand, we have this big, huge airplane, so imagine if I take this 1600 Spitfire out there that's got quite a bit of weight to it, it's not going to get thrown around as easy, and I take a little 1000 millimeter Spitfire out. Obviously, the 1600 Spitfire is going to fly better than the 1000mm Spitfire all day long. And yeah, I would agree to some extent, Tim Justin's, you know, you can put the finest RC aircraft in the world in the hands of an idiot, and he's still going to crash that beach. So, yes, it absolutely makes a difference, you know, on the pilot as well. But, you know, just laws of physics and, you know, fluid dynamics will tell you, like, the bigger plane is going to fly more true. It's going to have, you're going to get a better flying experience. So all things equal, the bigger plane will fly better than the small plane. Yes. So tonight I'm rocking a big jug. It's not a big jug. It's only 24 ounces of Dave's sweet tea. It's excellent. Yeah, Nate, the flying wasn't the problem, man. It was that damn tree. It just reached up and grabbed it on final. I mean, and I was on short final too. Like my descent angle was perfect. Everything was beautiful, man. I had not set up for a better landing in a long time at that stupid field. And then, oh, I got it. The tree just came down with my Spitfire. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was beautiful. And then it wasn't. Yeah, the Big 29, I mean, that was awesome. It was so beautiful. The takeoff just looked great. And then I go to turn left and the airplane just starts going to the right. And all of a sudden I just knew, like, yep, that's reversed ailerons right there. That's a classic case of reversed ailerons. And I am too dumb to try to fly this plane like that. So I just dumped the power and let it go right on in. Bye-bye. That was my $300 mistake. I think that telemetry is really what would have helped. And thank goodness the lights were on. Because later on that night, you know, as the sun started to go down over the horizon and the sun was setting and I was busting out my night radian. Because, I mean, I was going to get some flying in. I didn't give a damn if my Spitfire was in a tree. I was flying something. In fact, I think I brought I think that was the day I might have got rid of my other P-47. Anyway, I gave something away that day. You know what? I had my Spitfire and I had my Dynam PT-17 and I was flying the PT-17 around. And at the end of the day, I gave away that PT-17 to somebody who was extremely grateful. So I'm up flying my PT-17. I land it. It lands beautiful. I bring it on over, get the night radiant all ready to go. And I throw it up in the air, and the night radiant's just got lights everywhere. Just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It's like, excuse me, it's like an alien plane. Pilot Ryan, what's up? I swear all trees have an RC airplane supermagnet located within the top limbs. So if your airplane, it's kind of like ground effect, you know, but instead of like keeping you from getting the plane on the ground, it's like the opposite. Just your airplane just gets sucked in. Man, I forgot the story I was telling. Oh, so the PT-17, I take it off. I get the night radiant up. And I look over, you know, because I'm flying the night radiant, like kind of, I mean, it's way high up in the air. So not in danger of getting anywhere near where the Spitfire was. But something catches my eye. And I'm thinking that like there's somebody in the woods, like flashing a flashlight at me. Like, what the hell is going on over there? So after like 20, 30 minutes of flying the night radio around, I still see this flashing light over in the woods. And I'm like, I got to go see what this is. So I go over there. I look up in the tree, and it's my damn P-40, you know, it's my damn Spitfire up in the tree. And from the ground up, I mean, I'm still looking at the bottom of the Spitfire because it was in flight. Like it was still lined up with the runway, just the tree just caught it. So it's sitting in the tree. So from the ground looking up, I couldn't see the flashing light on the top anymore. But from the runway, you know, from the pilot station, I could see the beacon in the top of the fuselage. And it was like the airplane was like laughing at me. Like, oh, come on, man. The damn beacon of the airplane was flashing and I could see it in the woods and I was like, that just sucks. Because I'm trying to like shake it. Like the day of the incident, I was trying to shake it and just run the hell out of the propeller. In fact, I still got the old propeller. And like the tips of the blades got broken off because I'm trying to like, you know, just, you know, throttle it up and back to get the tree to shake enough to let go. And it just would not do it. The tree would not let go. But the tree finally let go. About 10 days later, we got the thing out. Fred, I appreciate you asking. My foot feels much better. I don't know if I told you guys last week. I probably didn't because I don't know that we had actually filmed it yet. No, we had. Was this last Saturday? Maybe not. It may have been last Saturday. I don't remember. Yes, it was. It was last Saturday. Amy and I went to a school. For those of you guys that haven't seen it yet, I do have a video on the brand new Arma Vendetta that was started shipping today. It's now available at your local hobby shop. So if you want to go check one out, go do it. For $450, those things are bad as hell. That is a nasty, nasty RC car. Along the same lines as like your infraction or your limitless or your felony. It's a very fast road car, but it only uses 3S packs. It still gets up like 60 miles an hour, box stock, but they have a speed pinion and a low downforce package that you can strap onto it that will make it go faster. I think out of the box, you could easily get it up to 70 miles an hour. It's just a beast. There's already people on the internet getting them bitches up to like 100 miles an hour. So it's a very capable machine. I love it. It's awesome. Anyway, I'm driving the Vendetta around, and that thing, it may have had something to do with my poor driving. I ran it right into the front of my foot. Not quite at top speed, but pretty close. And it banged my toes up pretty good. So like the 3 middle toes on my left foot. So like my big toe and my pinky toe, those were saved. But the 3 middle toes, man, they took a beat down. That car was probably going a good 40 miles an hour when it hit my foot. Yeah, I think that my dogs are so dumb. Can y'all hear that idiot? So I think, DB, that might be in order, because if I were to hit my foot with any other car, like, let me tell you, it didn't feel good. But if I had been going like the full 60 miles an hour rip, it probably would have broke my foot. And the Creighton weighs twice as much. The infracture. Fred's got the best dad jokes. So like the Creighton or the Laser Nut or like a lot of the off-road cars that I've got, if those things hit your foot, you're going to be in the hospital. You know, if you were to hit yourself in the foot with the Creighton EXB or even the Creighton 6S, man, the Creighton 8S definitely. You hit that, the top speed's not as fast. It's only going to get up to maybe 50 miles an hour. But at 50 miles an hour, that thing is like heavy. It will take you out. Ken Bird. That's what I'm saying. All right. So it's 10:03, which means that it's about time that we're going to wrap up the live show and transition into the Zoom Friday night Zoom sessions. For those of you guys that are used to going to my Zoom sessions or whatever, I've made a couple of changes to the way that Zoom authenticates, where I had this choice of either using a different link every week, and I know Spencer's going to be like, do this, do this. I promise it doesn't work. I tested it out again. For whatever reason, my account, it forces me to have some kind of authentication method. Whether I force you guys to have a password, which means that like guests coming in either have to have a password, which I can include in the link, but the room number changes every time, or I can have it where the room number is the same, but you actually have to be logged into the Zoom service to use it. So you can't use a guest account anymore. All right. So for those of you guys that want to be able to join the Zoom, you do not really need to set up a Zoom account. Everybody that's in here talking right now has a Google account of some type, or you wouldn't be logged into YouTube, right? So if you use the credentials that you use when you log into YouTube, which is like a Google account, you can sign into Zoom using your Google account. So just do that. So I'm going to give out the Zoom thing, the link to the Zoom, and then we're going to keep talking for a few minutes or whatever, but we're going to transition the live show into the Zoom so you guys can come in there. You can ask me questions directly. We can all interface with each other in person. It's just it's a much cooler environment. I like it a lot. We get to act like idiots. Here inside the YouTube environment, you know, I feel very limited in what I can say. And although I can read everything that everybody says, Spencer, I promise you, man, like whatever you're doing, you must have somehow figured out a way to cheat the system. You know, it's kind of like the Kung Fu fighting games, right? Like Spencer has no idea what he's doing, but he presses a lot of buttons and like he'll whoop your ass every time. And you're like, dude, how the hell did you do that? He's like, man, I don't know. And like Chung Lee's just slapping and kicking and Kung Fu fighting. And next thing you know, like you're dead. Like you had no opportunity to do what you know to be technically correct. You know, like I'm trying to Hadouken you and you're just slapping and kicking and bobbing and weaving. And it's just from like spastic button pressing. Y'all, you were either that kid or you knew that kid. You know who I'm talking about. The guys at Nintendo pads are just like, da, 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 da. They don't even know what they're doing. And I think that's what happened here. That's how Spencer got me. But anyway, I can't get what Spencer has shared. You know, he's like, man, just do this and it'll work every time. It doesn't work. I can't. It's grayed out. That option is grayed out. I cannot select it. It won't let me do it. which sucks. So anyway, if you want to join the Zoom and it says you can't log in, then that's fine. Or you have to be logged in to use it. Just log in with Google and you're good. All right. New. Start. Okay. So I'm going to put the Zoom link in the chat. There it is. All right. So I just put the Zoom link in the chat. Now, for those of you guys, I don't know how this works on Android devices, but for those of you guys that are on iOS devices, if you click on the link and it tells you something like this link won't open in this browser because you're trying to open it in like Google or Google Messenger or whatever, down at the bottom of the page, right, there's going to be the little box with the arrows sticking out the top. It's the share box. You click on that box, and then you scroll down to the options, and you click on the one that says Open Link in Safari, and then it will magically open the Zoom app, and you will be good to go. So if you get a message that says, I can't open the Zoom link in this browser, click on the little share button, open in Safari. It works every time. If you're on Android, I have no idea what to tell you. I don't use Android. That's bad for you. Oh. All right. So I put that in there again. If you take that link and you save it, save it into like a web browser or whatever, that link never changes. So every Friday, Paul, well, we just talked about this. I know it's asking you to sign in. You sign in with your Google account. We just talked about this. Hey, thanks for being in the show, man. At least you're in the chat and you're having fun. At least I hope you're having fun. So I'd use the link. If it tells me I can't open it, then I use the share button and I open it in Safari. And that works fine. I'm going to put the link in over on Facebook. I'm going to share the link in my channel's community page. And I can't share it in Instagram because I don't have enough Instagram followers. But we'll figure out a way. If you need me to send you the link, send me a message in Facebook Messenger. Send me a message in whatever. Shoot me an email to dave@rcairmarshal.com and says, hey, can I have the Zoom link? And I will send you the Zoom link over email. And then you can click it, and it will be the same link week after week after week. Just come right back in. You don't need to get permission from anybody. And what else? I think that's all I got this week. come join us in the Zoom, guys. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been there before, we talk about everything. It's not always it's not always going to be airplanes. In fact, 90% of the stuff that we talk about in the Zooms strays far away from airplanes, but all things that a bunch of airplane enthusiasts like talking about. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for the week. Thank you guys so much. We're going to put the link to the Zoom one more time. Again, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you all next week. Happy flying, guys. Actually, we might see you tomorrow. If the FMS P47 comes in tomorrow, I'll go live right in the middle of the day, and we'll get the thing put together. So keep a lookout for that. Turn on the notifications. Get ready for the live show tomorrow, where we do a live build of the FMS P47 Thunderbolt Razorback Edition. Yes. See you then. Have a good week, guys.